good morning to everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, 3:30 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I am fired up this morning, man. I'm not necessarily angry. I'm disgusted and embarrassed. Embarrassed that I share the same country as people like Jake Paul. I'll be honest. I've heard of Logan first. I saw a movie 2-3 years ago where it's something about going to school and he got in trouble. The kids would get in trouble at school and they'd be sent to a slave factory to make cell phones. You know, this was Logan's genius idea, other than filming his family to make millions. And it was one of the stupidest, most painful things I ever spent 10 minutes watching. And ever since then, I don't even have a good reason. I just, it's one of those cases where I just look at them and I do not care for Jake Paul and I do not care for Logan Paul. All right, so Jake Paul decides to jump into politics, and as soon as I saw this story this morning, I wanted to talk about this. He listed, is it 4 or 5 things? I can't remember now. He listed these things. He listed high inflation, the highest inflation ever. The highest gas prices ever, the highest rent prices ever, crypto crashing, and then this one, inventing a new language, and he blames this all on Joe Biden. Now that last one, I'm just gonna address this once. Making fun of somebody that's got a speech impediment, not cool. It's just not cool. And really, do you really want me to sit here and start listing? Talk about Trump and his airports in 1776 and Cofet. Yeah, do you really want to go there? I don't think so. Just don't. The cool thing, don't make fun of people that are born with disabilities. It's not cool. They wish they didn't have them. It's not something they do on purpose. It's not cool to blame them. All right. That being said, let's look at the other 4. And the first thing that comes to mind is Christian Walker. I am sick and freaking tired of people like in Hollywood or wherever, these billionaires standing in front of their $250,000 Range Rovers trying to commiserate with us, the working people. The people that are making $20 or less an hour, trying to commiserate, trying to sympathy with us. And they're standing in front of their $250,000, $100,000, whatever, Range Rover, like Christian Walker or this guy, complaining about a $5. It's called gas here in Connecticut. We just hit $5. What it costs in California, I don't know. If I listen to Trump, it costs like $20 a gallon in California. I really think it's about 6 or 7 at the most in California, which is still ridiculous. But as I read this, it just disgusts me to be an American. Where do I even start with this? Okay, him saying this. Oh wait, I didn't finish. The tweet goes on, and then the last sentence really ticks me off. The last sentence says he blames the American people that voted for Joe Biden. You are the real American problem. So now he's pointing the finger at me. It's all my fault that he's driving around in his Lamborghini and he's got to pay $6 for a gallon of gas, and it's my fault. I'm the big problem. Okay. People like Jake Paul remind me, this is the first thing that popped into my mind. I was trying to think of an analogy. First thing that popped into my mind was a young toddler, like a 4-year-old that could talk, going to Disney World with his parents, right? Having a good day. They're getting ready to leave, go back to the hotel or whatever. And the 4-year-old starts having a tantrum. I don't want to leave. I want to live in the castle. I want to live in the castle forever. I hate you. Grandma says we could live here forever. I hate you. That's what Jake Paul exactly reminds me of. Somebody that just non-reality. Here's the thing. I'll have links down below. It's not. I got a clue for you guys. Biden doesn't have a button in his office that this is high gas prices. And if he did, why would he push it? First of all, and then the people that want to talk about his incompetency or his being old. This reminds me of everything that I worried about when Trump became president. All the people that were around me that were voting for Trump, I said, he doesn't know anything about other countries, about the military, about stuff like that. And all the people that voted for him said, but he's going to have his generals and he's going to have all these people around him that are going to, tell him and give him advice. How did that work out? And in this, it's the same thing with Biden, but Biden does not control. And if he did, why wouldn't he fix it? You don't think he's feeling a little heat now? But here's the big takeaway. These people think it's just, they don't even think about the rest of the world. It's all about, the lower 48, really. That's it. Their whole world consists of pretty much Texas, Idaho, Kansas, North Carolina, the red states. That's the world to them. And I'll have a list down below. America, the United States, has the 97th highest gas prices. That's where we rate. Hong Kong, over $11 a gallon. Denmark, over $10 a gallon. Finland, over $10 a gallon. Germany, I think, is $9 a gallon. It's not just America. And Joe Biden doesn't control the whole rest of the world. Also, this goes, I'll have another link for this down below. Do you remember Trump being awful tight with the Arabs, with OPEC? And he did a little thing. He convinced them to cut their production by like half. I'll have the links for this down below. I'll have the fact checking and all of it. And Biden now is still trying to work on reverse that, because OPEC has never increased their oil output to what it was before. That's one of the big things. Another thing, need I say, the pandemic, people didn't drive or fly anywhere. That means low demand. The supply, demand. Do I really need to explain that to people like Jake Paul? It's not because Joe Biden came in, had the Coca-Cola button removed from Trump's office, and had a gas prices button put in its place. And he pushes the high gas prices button, and ta-da! That's not how it works. I could go on and on, man. This video could be like a couple hours long, but this is the one big thing that I noticed back in 2020. Now, I love stimulus money. I love free money just as much as everybody else. But when this came out, it troubled me. I made a video about it. I haven't looked for that video. It was about 3 years ago, in 2020. And as soon as we got the $1,200 stimulus and the $1,400 stimulus, my rational mind had a problem with that. Because, like I said, even though I love free money, I understand, I'm not a financial wizard or anything, but you can't just manufacture wealth. You can't just print more money and hand it out. Because if you have any brain cells, that'll tell you that wealth has to come from somewhere. The first thing it'll do if you print more money, if you just print up a couple billion or trillion more dollars, is there's only so much wealth, and it's going to decrease the value of the money already out there, thus increasing the price of things. Yeah, that's called inflation. This, like I said, I'm no financial master here, so I could keep going on and on. I have the links down below. Logan Paul and his 24 is his Rolls Royce Phantom that goes 240 miles an hour. Oh, that's another thing too. These guys that are driving their Range Rovers and their Maseratis and Lamborghinis that are getting 5 miles to the gallon, or just the Trump supporters here around town that are cruising around their jacked up four-wheel Toyota Tacomas or Ford whatevers, and they're complaining, but they're not quite upset enough to buy a reasonable car that uses less gas. They're still driving everywhere, taking their vacation, so it can't be bothering them all that much. And cryptocurrency. So Logan Paul lists, because Biden is responsible for cryptocurrency crashing, according to Jake Paul. And that, when I saw that kind of gets to the root of everything. So I was like, I bet you Jake Paul, he's the kind that's going to invest. I bet you he invested heavily in this stuff. And I just love that now, because it lost like 50% of its value. And sure enough, I came across an article down below. Logan Paul let it slip on some podcast about 2 days ago that those two lost a whole lot of money, and probably lost a whole lot more sense in cryptocurrency. Now, here's another thing. I I'm not very smart. I don't know how cryptocurrency works, but I know there's blockchains, and I know they use a lot of computing power, and I know they get hot. And I know that besides for ice, like the old days, going to get big blocks of ice and putting it on the computers, I don't think that would work. If they're going to use electricity, which means using power, okay, power gets more expensive. Cooling the computers gets more expensive. Isn't that going to take an effect on cryptocurrency? I mean, like I said, I'm no genius. I don't know how this stuff works, but wasn't this cryptocurrency supposed to be like a hedge against all that other stuff, against inflation, all that other stuff? It was supposed to be this whole system unto itself that was unaffected by cheating bankers and politicians and all that stuff. But now it's all Joe Biden's fault that cryptocurrency is crashing. You can't have it both ways, man. We don't live in Disney World. And I could go on about Vladimir Putin and the war in I could go on about the pandemic, but Joe Biden is not in control of, he does not have a button in his office that raises inflation and gas prices. And you know what? If it really bothers you that much, drive it cheaper. Drive something that uses less gas instead of your Lamborghini or your Rolls Royce. That's the only. Or maybe invest in like apartment buildings instead of cryptocurrency, because then you'd have money coming in, more money coming in now than losing money. So that's your own fault. Stop blaming other people. This rant could go on for another 2 hours. Logan Paul and Jake Paul are idiots. Have a good Tuesday.